Nürburgring, March 21st, 136 cars, 20 classes, and one name that makes everyone else irrelevant. Max Verstappen is back. Not in the machine that humiliated him, not under the lights of a Formula One paddock that has spent 2 races tearing him apart. He's here, on the Nordschleife, where racing still makes sense. But here's the question no one is asking. Is this a getaway? Or is this the beginning of something far bigger than a 4-hour race? And what does it say about Formula One when its 4-time world champion would rather be at the Nürburgring on a cold Saturday morning than anywhere near the championship he once owned? Here's what we know. Saturday, March 21st, NLS 2, the Nürburgring Langstrecken-Serie. At 8:30 a.m., a 90-minute qualifying session throws 136 cars at the legendary circuit. The fastest lap sets the grid. No mercy, no team orders, no engineers whispering about hybrid deployment. At 11:40 a.m., the formation lap begins, and when those cars rolled around to the start-finish line, a rolling start. 4 hours of racing begins at noon, and Max Verstappen will be right in the middle of it. He'll be driving the Mercedes AMG GT3, a 6-liter front-engined V8 producing 500 to 550 brake horsepower, 6-gearbox, known for torque, praised for stability, built for exactly this kind of circuit. His teammates, Daniel Juncadella and Jules Gounon. The Team Verstappen Racing, the number 3 Mercedes AMG entry, lines up in the SP9 class, the top GT class, 26 starters, all of them knowing that number 3 is coming. But that was just the start. Verstappen already tested this car back in January at Estoril, getting his hands on the Mercedes GT3 for the first time. He did the homework, he learned the machine. But Saturday is different, because Saturday is the first race, not just for Verstappen, but for the entire team. And there's weight on every lap. On paper, this race looks simple. A test run, a shakedown before the Nürburgring 24 hours in May. Get the car in the window, learn the setup, build the chemistry with the teammates. That's what Verstappen said. That's what the team said. But last year, Verstappen started P3 in NLS 9 in a Ferrari 296 GT3. He finished P1. He won, from 3rd on the grid, in a car he was still learning, on a circuit that swallows amateurs whole. So when Verstappen says this isn't about the victory, you believe him. And then you remember who Max Verstappen is. With no F1 races scheduled in April, he could also race in NLS 3 on April 11th, and the 24 hours qualifiers, April 18th and 19th. This isn't a weekend away. This is a campaign, and the Nordschleife is the proving ground. Now, let's talk about why Verstappen needs this. 2 races into the 2026 Formula One season, and the 4-time world champion sits 8th in the championship. 8th, not 2nd, not 3rd, 8th. The new regulations ripped out the MGUH. That means drivers must rev their engines far higher on the formation lap just to spool the turbo and harvest enough energy for a clean start. It sounds like a technical footnote. It is not. It is the reason Verstappen's race in Shanghai ended before it began. He dropped from P8 on the grid all the way to P14 off the line. Then, on lap 46, retirement. The Red Bull RB22 called into the pits and didn't come back out. And it wasn't just Shanghai. Red Bull have been 1.7 seconds off the pace of Mercedes through 2 race weekends. Both Verstappen and teammate Ishak Hadjar have been stopped by engine-related failures. The car, by Verstappen's own admission, is incredibly tough to drive. He described every lap as survival. Survival. The 4-time world champion surviving laps. And here is where the story gets dark, because this isn't a bad weekend. This isn't a setup issue they'll fix by Monaco. This is a fundamental problem at the heart of the most complex power unit regulations F1 has ever introduced. Red Bull built their car around assumptions that haven't held up. And right now, Mercedes, the team Verstappen is racing for this Saturday, are the benchmark he's being measured against every single Sunday. The fallout is already spreading across 3 layers. The driver. Verstappen was cautiously hopeful of improvement from Japan onwards, but cautiously hopeful is not the language of a man who believes his car is fixed. It's the language of a man managing expectations, his own and everyone else's. The championship. Sitting 8th after 2 rounds, with reliability failures stacking up, the deficit is not just in points, it's in confidence. It's in the rhythm and momentum that separates a title contender from a chaser. The bigger picture. Verstappen said himself he never believed Red Bull were as close to Mercedes as the preseason hype suggested. He saw this coming. He said it quietly, and now those words are sitting in the paddock like a grenade. This is not a slump. This is a structural crisis, and the Nürburgring, this Saturday, is the only place in the world where none of that matters. Here, the man just drives. Scenario 1. Verstappen wins NLS2. He adds another Nürburgring result to a resume that already has NLS9 on it. He carries that momentum into April, NLS3, the 24 hours qualifiers, and arrives at the 24 hours of the Nürburgring in May as the favorite. And somewhere in a Red Bull boardroom, the pressure doubles. Scenario 2. The race is difficult. The new team, the new car, the cold conditions, a high of 9 degrees predicted for Saturday, and the Nordschleife will be the Nordschleife. Verstappen finishes but doesn't contend. The 24 hours build continues quietly, and F1's problem isn't solved by a weekend away. Scenario 3, Verstappen dominates. The Mercedes GT3, that same Mercedes that is destroying his Red Bull every Sunday in F1, becomes his weapon of choice on the Nordschleife. And the symbolism of that? It doesn't need explaining. Dynasties don't fall in one race, but sometimes they crack. Is the Nürburgring the release valve, or the rehearsal for something Verstappen is building toward while F1 burns around him? And when the 4-time world champion is more comfortable in a Mercedes GT3 on a rainy German hillside than in his own Formula One car on Sunday afternoon, what does that tell us about where this season is actually heading? The race starts Saturday. The real answer comes later. If you made it this far, you already know this season isn't about who's fastest. It's about who survives the wreckage. Tell me in the comments, does Verstappen win NLS2? And can Red Bull turn this around before it's too late?